Hi there. Thank you for joining me. I'm Vita King Blanchard, and this is number 3 in my series on massage for everyone. Eric has again agreed to be my model. So today I'm going to demonstrate some things about neck health and supporting the relief of neck tension in our loved ones. And quickly, I'd just like to offer you, if you haven't seen the first 2 videos, I'd invite you to go look back at them because I've already done some simple straightening techniques. And I put a bolster under his knees. And if you don't have a bolster at home or you're working on a on a bed, just a quick reminder that you can use a pillow or a rolled up towel under the knees. And the most important thing is that you stay comfortable so that the person that you're working on can be comfortable as well. So opposing musculature is a really important thing to think about when we're going to address discomfort in the body. A lot of times it's the muscles in the back of our neck and shoulders that complain. But the reality is that they're often not the source of the issue. And an easy way to think about that is think about that like forward posture that happens when we're on our phones or at a desk where our head is down, our arms are forward in some way, even driving, you get a little bit of that. And what that does is it stretches all of the muscles in the back of our neck and shoulders, and it kind of crunches up or compresses all of the muscles up front. So the muscles in the back of the neck complain because they're overworked. But really, we can get the most therapeutic relief by addressing the muscles at the front of our neck. Something that I want to caution you about, as well as always keeping that line of communication open so that we know that we're staying in a range of comfort and we're not pushing too hard. Because again, our bodies are amazing and they can unwind a lot of stuff ourselves, is just to have your nails really short. I have no whites on my nails. I've cut them all off, right? And that's because, and they're filed. And that's so that I don't have to worry about accidentally stabbing, right? If you really love having long nails, then that's okay. But you'll want to just kind of accommodate the way that you work and find ways that you can make contact that's comfortable for you, and also that keeps your nails from making contact. So to address the neck, because these muscles up here are going to be the ones that are compressed, probably. I'm working on him face up instead of face down, because working on him face down is gonna, and I'll do that in a later video. It will provide some like immediate relief. However, it likely won't provide prolonged relief. So like I've talked about, really want to just focus on providing loving touch. The more calm and comfortable you can be, the more that your touch will simply invite the body to unwind. Now I've got each of my hands on the mastoid process, which is a bone right behind the ear here. And you can feel it on yourself. It's just like a bump that sticks out. A lot of our neck muscles and jaw muscles attach in there. And I've got my fingers just lightly on that on both sides. And my thumbs are just kind of resting right at the top of the ear here. And this is where a lot of our cranial muscles or skull muscles come down and meet the ear area. So even though it doesn't look like I'm doing a lot, maybe, it actually feels pretty different. How does this feel to you, Eric?
It feels wonderful.
So just putting my hands here, and what pressure would you say this is?
2 maybe.
So on that 0 to 10 scale, it's a super light pressure and it already feels good and it's supporting the muscles and unwinding themselves, right? Because again, we don't need to put down a lot of pressure. And actually, we really don't want to, because sometimes when we have a lot of pressure, we brace against it. And that can just cause the body to pick up more tension instead of letting it go. So I'm doing I've started doing a simple light friction on the mastoid process, on that bump behind the ear. And what that is just like moving my fingers up and down, right? So you can see on my hand that my skin is moving, but not very much. And my other fingers, these 2 fingers are just moving up and down very gently. And if you look, when my hand's in place, my fingers are simply moving up towards my thumbs and then back down. Up towards my thumbs and then back down. How's that feel?
Very good.
And you can hear Eric's voice has kind of started to slow down. So that means he's already having a relaxation response, right? So again, it doesn't take very much to get to that point. So now I'm gently releasing. We always want to release slowly so that we don't do anything abrupt that could be jarring to the body. And I'm pulling right where my thumb was. And again, now my thumbs are resting just a little higher up and they're actually on the temporal muscle. So that's right where this hairline often is, right? This join here. And I'm just gently again pulling up towards my thumbs and then allowing a gentle release. So I pull up and then I gently ease off and allow my fingers to drift back down. And what pressure would you say this is, Eric?
About a 2.
About a 2. So another really nice thing that you can do up here, which fascia, again, is that 3D tissue that covers everything in the body. It's kind of like a cellophane, right? That wraps all of the muscle spindles, fibers, organs, muscle groupings. It occurs at every level. So unwinding the fascia can help the muscles to just have more space and to do their own unwinding. And one of the really nice ways to release the fascia in the head is to pull the hair. So I'm sliding my fingers through his hair, which he has generously washed for me. And I'm putting my fingers like firmly against the skull so that they're flush. And then I'm going to grab the hair and gently pull, right? I want to keep it in that slow movement that's comfortable, that feels like loving touch. I want to make sure I'm staying comfortable, and I'm putting this knuckle flush against his head. So all of these lowest knuckles, this lowest part of the joint closest to my knuckles. And then I'm just gonna gently pull. And if you're watching my hands, you can see that there's not a lot of motion, but I am pulling towards myself and my hands towards each other as well. How does that feel, Eric?
It's very good. Nice release.
And what kind of pressure would you say that is?
A 3.
So still very gentle, right? And then slowly, I just am releasing my hold. I'm pulling my hands out. And Eric took a nice deep breath, which is another sign that the body is relaxing. So in this position, right, some signs that we might see are the eyelids kind of moving a little faster, or a deep breath is something we might hear. Again, the slower voice is another cue in. So then I'm going to come down to the base of the skull, which right in this area, right? We have a ton of neck muscles from our the front of our neck and the back of our neck that meet in this area. It's a big joint area. And I'm going to put my fingers just at the base of that in this gesture. So I'm going to keep his head face up, and I'm going to lift it a little bit. And I'm allowing it to rest in my hands, in my palms. And I'm just curling my fingers to put them against the base of the skull there. And just like I started on the mastoid process, first I'm just going to hold, just introducing myself, my hands, with a gentle holding touch. And now I'm kind of going into small, very small circles. You can see that my fingers are moving, but very slightly. And now I'm going to go into that slight fiber, which is just that cross fiber, which is just the back and forth movement. And what pressure would you say this is, Eric?
2 or 3.
So I feel like I'm going much lighter, which just is a great example of how subjective this is. The way that touch feels changes depending on the area of the body, the amount of tension in that area. Now I'm just holding. So I've found that mastoid process again. And I've traced the base of the skull to get to it this time. And so I'm just holding the two gently toward the ceiling. Like I have a little bit of pressure going toward the ceiling with the intention of allowing the base of the skull to release and relax. And that is a great hold to kind of, again, support the fascia that is at the base of your skull in this area to just release. And actually, the fascia from our two big neck muscles, the sternocleidomastoid, attaches at the mastoid and then comes down to attach on the sternum and the clavicle. And it has a big piece of fascial tissue that wraps across the base of your skull there. So simply holding in that area with that gentle pressure can allow that fascia to release itself and start to unwind and allow those neck muscles to release and relax. How does that feel, Eric?
It feels very good.
So in the interest of time, I'm going to move on to the next move. I would suggest you can really spend as much time in these areas of the skull and neck as feels right to you, depending on the amount of tension you're feeling, and just encouraging that slow unwinding. Sometimes a half an hour just spent moving gently in this area can feel really amazing. And I want to show you just a couple more quick things that can really enforce this unwinding of the neck. So what I'm doing right now is holding the base of the skull and creating like a cross pressure. I'm like gently holding with pressure towards myself. And I have my hand just braced under the base there. And how does that feel?
Good. About a 2.
About it too. So I'm just going to increase the stretch here and really focus it on the front of the neck by placing my hand on the sternum. I want to make sure not to place it off to the side because putting pressure on the ribs can feel a little uncomfortable. Putting it on the breastbone or the sternum in the middle of the center of the chest, this bone here. And then just kind of creating a surface stretch with very light pressure. This, my right hand still pulling the base of his skull towards me, and my left hand pushing down towards his toes. And what pressure would you say that is there?
About a 1 or 2.
It's a very light. How does it feel?
That feels very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So I'm just holding, allowing the body to release and unwind. And then gently releasing. And got that nice deep breath, showing relaxation. Then I'm going to come in and kind of inspect along the clavicle. So just like assessing the body and doing that initial straightening can already relax and unwind it. Assessing a bony area can do the same thing, because the bony areas that stick out of us, kind of like a great cue in for to point us towards where the muscles attach. Right, so I'm just grabbing onto the clavicle, and I'm going to do some just gentle rocking. So my fingers are underneath it and on top of it. And I'm just doing some gentle rocking towards me and away. How does that feel?
Very gentle. It's very nice.
So I felt a little bit of a release there, and now I'm just doing like a slight pumping motion to encourage circulation in this area. So it's just like this kind of gentle motion. And now I'm doing it in the other direction. And I'm going to travel out along the clavicle, and anywhere that I feel like a little bump or a little muscle tightness, just going to hang out and do a little bit of that cross friction that we use at the base of the skull. How's that? Okay.
Great.
Good. And now I'm out at his shoulders. And this is another opportunity, right, to reinforce that opening. And so I'm just going to kind of hook my fingers into the top of his armpit area. You can be very careful not to put pressure into that area. We don't want to dig. It's got a lot of sensitive tissue stuff in there. I'm going to use it as a slight anchor and then lean back with my heels. And I'm using the heels of my hands now to put pressure onto the ends of that clavicle where it meets the other bones of the shoulder, and to push down a little bit. So I'm pushing both towards the table and towards Eric's feet. How does that feel?
It's good.
And what pressure would you say it is?
About a 4.
About a 4. So it's a little bit more intense, right? And there's that cue in about, again, right? So subjective and so different, how different parts of the body feel. And now I'm just using my thumbs to replicate that same motion I was doing with my hand earlier. So I'm just kind of rolling and on the points of tension that I feel, using my fingertips a little bit, using my thumbs a little bit to just encourage the body to keep on loosening up. Now I'm going back up to the mastoid process, to those bumps behind the ears, to just check in to see how the tension has changed, how they feel different from how they felt when I first started. And I'm going to go back into the base of the skull and do the same kind of thing. And I'm just checking this with like simple cross fibering, because that allows me to get a sense of where the musculature is now, at the same time that I'm continuing to support Eric with a touch of release and relaxation. And you can use that same gentle holding where you just are creating a little bit of tension to really allow that fascia to release within any 2 points, right? Because our fascia is everywhere. So I'm doing this gentle stretch and release all the way out. And I started very close on that. Like I started in this close maybe, and then moved out very gradually. Okay. So that's the beginning of a general address of neck tension and easing it. And I've certainly felt some unwinding. If you've been following along with a person that you're working on, I'm sure you have too. Do you feel like you've had some unwinding and relaxation?
Yeah. My shoulders feel heavier, loose. It's nice.
Good. So thank you for joining me for this third video. I'm going to continue to put these out weekly. The next one will be next Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope to see you there. I love me. I love you. I love us. I'll see you soon.